After 5 years of being divorced, my ex-wife came back and asked for a second chance because she had left our kids for a new lover. My ex-wife Angela, 36, and I met when we were both in our mid-20s. We met at the same company when I was about 24 years old. It took us 2 years to get married. Now our kids are 9 and 7 years old. She was upset with the second pregnancy, which came on quickly, but she didn't end it, even though I told her it was okay. I did not want to make her do anything she did not wish to do. After we had our first girl, things were still going well between us, and we were still deeply in love. But after we had our second child, things changed. Angela got very angry and mean, and she kept picking on me or our oldest child. I thought it was just her hormones and tried to get along with this new version of her. We thought things would get better over time, but they got worse, so my daughter and I learned to be careful around her. Angela planned to stay home with her kids. I was in charge of everything, though. She quit her job because she wanted to focus on herself after having our first child. While I worked, she cleaned the house and took care of our oldest child. But when she got pregnant with our second child, she said she was too tired to clean the house and take care of the kids, so we had to hire a maid. Even though it cost more than we had planned, I agreed to hire help because I didn't want to bother her while she was pregnant. When our second daughter was born, I thought she'd go back to taking care of the house and the kids. I wasn't one of those guys who did nothing around the house, just to be clear. Even though I was tired, I always tried to help out at home after work. I thought Angela would get better in a few months after the birth of our younger daughter, but after a few months, she didn't get much better. She was still rude and angry, and she wouldn't do any chores. She would rather stay home and watch TV all day anyway. She never played with the kids or took them outside. Instead, she sometimes paid our neighbor to take them to the park. I didn't mean to sound angry, but I did. I worked long hours to support our family, but she wouldn't do even the most basic things at home. And it was getting more and more expensive to keep paying the maid to do all the cooking, cleaning, and other tasks. Angela wouldn't help me in any way, so I had to pay all of our bills and save money for our daughter's future. This was getting harder and harder. I knew we couldn't keep going the way we were after almost 6 months since the birth of our younger girl. I chose to talk to Angela. I knew it would be hard to talk about, so I asked my parents to watch our girls for the day. When I sat Angela down, I told her I knew she was tired from being pregnant twice, but I needed her to work with me and help me out. I told her that hiring a maid was getting too expensive, and I needed her to keep her promise to do at least some of the housework again so that we could cut the cleaner's hours and save money. She turned down the idea right away, saying she had to watch the kids and wasn't able to clean. She told me to stop making excuses and blaming her for our money problems and start working harder. I tried to tell her that I was doing my best, but she needed to do hers too if we wanted our marriage to work. I also said that she wasn't really watching the kids because they were sitting in front of the TV with her for hours on end, which was something the maid had said in passing. This was wrong. Angela yelled at me and said I was spying on her through the maid. She got angry and told me she wouldn't put up with being pushed around by me anymore. She also said she wouldn't do all the work while I sat at my desk for a few hours every day. When I asked for help with money issues, she said it was embarrassing that I had to beg her, since I was meant to be the man of the house. It didn't make sense, and she was clinging to anything to make it look like there was nothing wrong with her standing her ground. A big fight broke out between us. She called me a loser because I couldn't hire a maid, and I called her a lazy cow in response. I told her that our oldest daughter was scared of her, and that she wasn't doing a good job as a wife and mother. She was really hurt by what I said, and she pushed me hard. When I lost my balance, I hit the coffee table and hurt myself. The glass broke. Angela said she was sorry and cried the whole time I was being taken to the emergency room. I was lucky that my injuries were not too bad, but I could have been seriously hurt. After that, I told Angela she had to leave because I no longer trusted her. I didn't trust her with the kids. I knew she would get angry with them too. When I asked my parents to watch our girls for a while, Angela fought back for a week and said she would never let that happen again. But I just could not trust her anymore. I was going to file for divorce, but Angela begged me to give her another chance. We chose for her to move in with her folks and start therapy by the end of the week. I wouldn't even think about letting her come back to live with us until a doctor said she was healthy enough. Because happy people don't act that way, it was clear that something was wrong with her. But she was eager to get better, so I agreed to give her a chance. I also didn't want my girls to grow up without their mom, so I chose to wait to file for divorce and give our marriage another chance. We were also going to marriage therapy even though we lived apart. But it was all for nothing because she cheated on me in the end. In order to help me with my girls, my parents moved in with me. Angela stayed with her parents. We went to marriage therapy once a week, and for a while things seemed to be getting better. I talked to her therapist as well, and she told me that she had postpartum sadness but was getting better. She had anger issues which she had never had before, and they got out of hand after she pushed me. We were both woken up by that. This went on for more than a year, and after 6 months, I let her visit our girls while I watched. I felt better when I saw that she was slowly becoming her old self again. Finally, it looked like things were getting better for us and that we could make it work. Then, all of a sudden, she stopped coming to our counseling meetings for no reason. She stopped talking to me too, but I was sure she was getting better because her therapist kept me up to date. I tried to talk to her for weeks, but she avoided me and said she needed time to herself. It didn't make sense to me. Last week, after avoiding her for almost 3 months, I finally went to see her at her folks' house. Before, I hadn't done it because her parents didn't like me and blamed me, thinking I was the one who drove their daughter crazy and made her act out. As long as Angela was living with them, she told me not to see her because it would only cause more trouble, which was the last thing we wanted. I didn't usually go, but I did it anyway because she had been acting distant and skipping counseling meetings. She didn't seem interested when she did show up, and I couldn't figure out why. She kept telling me everything was fine when I tried to talk to her in person, on the phone, or through text, but her actions showed that she was trying to hide something. I thought she would be at her folks' house when I got there, but she wasn't. They slammed the door in my face and said they couldn't tell me where she was when I asked. That made me feel terrible. As I stood in front of their house, I tried to call Angela, but she didn't answer. After a few failed attempts, I started to feel more and more scared, so I sneaked around the house, hoping to find a way in. I went out to the yard. She knew that her parents left the kitchen door open all the time. I didn't need to go that far, though. Angela was sitting on a swing in the garden, but she wasn't by herself. She was kissing a guy I didn't know. That moment will always be in my mind because it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I still remember it. The guy quickly moved back when he saw me, and by the time Angela turned around, I had already started walking back to my car. I didn't listen when she tried to stop me when she caught up to me. I was shocked. She tried to grab me, but I told her not to touch me and shook my head. I got in my car and drove home. Once I got there, I stopped her on all of them so she couldn't give an explanation. I told my parents what I had seen and asked them to help me get a lawyer. I didn't see or hear from Angela until we had to meet with the mediator the court had chosen to complete our divorce settlement. At that point, I had pretty much turned into a robot, only working to help my girls and mentally shutting down. I didn't feel anything. Not even when I found out Angela was giving up her parenting rights. No longer did she want to be with us. Instead, she wanted to be with the guy I saw her with. Let's call him Sean. He was her friend when they were kids, and even though they stopped hanging out after high school, they got back together when she moved back in with her parents. It looked like she fell in love with him, and her parents were okay with it because they let her make out with him in their yard, even though she was married and had 2 kids. They had always wanted her to marry Sean, so they were glad she was finally making the right choice. Like she had never done anything else. The split took a long time to finish. Angela wanted to get alimony even though she had been cheating on her husband. It took a while, but my lawyer and I worked hard to make sure she didn't get anything from the divorce. That made sense, since I had paid for everything while she did nothing but watch TV at home. Today marks 5 years since the divorce was completed. We made sure she didn't get anything as a result. When I was going through my divorce, it was really hard, but I knew I couldn't give up because I had to raise my girls. I was the only one they had. They were very helpful, and I will never be able to tell them how thankful I am that they were there for me while I worked and took care of my kids. It's been 5 years, and I'm glad I got divorced. If I hadn't made that choice, I wouldn't be where I am now. At the time, it seemed like the worst thing that could happen to me. I'm in a much better place in every way since then. Life has been good to me. My salary has gone up, the house is bigger, and I no longer have to spend money on anyone but my girls. My parents live close by and visit often, and I have friends who love me so much. My children are very happy. That is all a guy needs, and I am thankful that things are going well now. At least it was until Angela showed up again a few days ago. When the buzzer rang, the kids were at school and I was about to go to work. She was outside with a boy next to her when I opened the door. It was clear right away that he was Angela's son. He couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 years old. I was still trying to figure out why she had come in without warning when she started crying. She told them she was sorry and wanted to make things right. You know what? She told me she was finally ready to start a family again and give our marriage another chance. I couldn't believe she was back after all these years and wanted to try again with our marriage. Like it was her choice. It took me less than a second to decide. I pushed the door shut and turned her away. I didn't want to get interested in what was going on, so I told her there was no longer a family here. When she cheated on me with Sean, I stopped being her husband. She easily gave up custody of her daughters so she could no longer call us her family. The divorce was just what the law required. After that, I shut the door and told her to leave because I didn't want her on my land. That stupid little guy made me not want to swear at her, even though I was really mad. For a while I could hear her screaming outside my door, but I didn't pay attention to it. As soon as I was sure that everything was okay, I left for work. I tried not to think about it because it would make me less determined, and I couldn't have that. Almost forgot that Angela had come to my house, but my parents called me as soon as I got home from work and asked why I had told her to go. They told me Angela had called them after I had shut the door on her. She was also mad. They said they gave her my new address and told her to come see me because she was getting divorced from Sean and now had a chance to make things right with me. They said Angela called them about a month ago, and the get-together had been planned for a long time. My parents thought it was time for me to think about my kids because my girls needed a mother and Angela was the best person for the job. They thought she deserved another chance, so they told her where to find me and what to say. They made me very angry. They couldn't forgive her or give her another chance without first asking me if I was okay with it. If the kids were home, things might have been a lot worse. They were being very careless when they did this. I scolded them, but they wouldn't admit they were wrong. They told me that they had helped me through my divorce by taking care of the kids, which is something they still do sometimes. They said that even though it was my choice in the end, they had the same right as me to decide what was best for the kids and I couldn't take that away from them. I thought they were crazy to think that. In the end, my girls were mine, not theirs. They helped me get through my divorce, and I will always be thankful for that. But it wasn't their job to bring Angela back into my life. The people who were with me told me I was being selfish by not giving Angela a second chance after our fight. They said they knew enough about her to know that she was a different person who should be in my daughter's life. Even after I told them that Angela had given up her parenting rights, they were still mad that I thought they would ever put my girls or me in danger. They said I ruined their lives because I was too proud to admit that my girls needed me as a mother. A lot of things have been on my mind about it for a few days now. I don't think it was selfish or wrong of me to not let my ex-wife try being a mom again. Change 1. What I thought about Angela's connection with. My parents has changed since she showed up at my door with her son about a week ago. I don't know where to begin because it makes me so sad. I'm still trying to understand it myself. It's crazy that they all misled me without a second thought. They must have not only given her my new address, but they had also been talking to her the whole time. They didn't cut her out of their lives after the split, but I did. They thought she'd change her mind in time. It was only once a month that they talked, but it was enough to make me feel hurt. Angela had to give up her rights when she was given divorce papers by Sean. He told her she had to choose. She could leave her family and start a new life with him, or she could stay in touch with her kids and fight for custody. But in order to fight for custody, they had to leave him behind. My parents say it was hard for her to decide, but she picked Sean and started a new family with him over the one she had with her current family. My parents told me that Angela called them right after I filed for divorce and asked for help staying in touch with her kids without them knowing. She said that both of us had put her in a tough spot. She thought that she would not be able to see her kids if she fought for custody. I was pushing for full custody with the right to visit with supervision, but Sean told her to leave her kids with no one to care for them. Because of the way our divorce went and her temper problems, she probably wouldn't win the custody fight even if she went up against him. It seemed like a waste of time and money to fight, since she might lose Sean's custody of our girls if she did. That's when my parents helped out. Angela went to see them alone and asked them to let her stay in touch with our girls. She was aware that if she gave up her rights, she would lose the right to come. However, my parents would keep those rights, which they planned to use. They lied to me for years by meeting Angela behind my back with our children. And they said it was okay because they felt Angela's pain and because they couldn't keep a mother away from her kids. But killing their own son in the back didn't make them feel bad about what they did. They would invite Angela to hang out with the kids whenever I left them at their house. My parents gave my kids gifts and treats to keep them quiet, so they never told me they were seeing their mother. My girls told me they played games with their grandparents and a friend while they were at their grandparents' house. I always thought they meant the real friends of my parents. It turns out that my parents told my girls to call their mom a friend in case I asked. I still can't believe my girls lied to me, but I forgive them because they are kids and can be swayed. When my parents told me the truth, I asked my girls if they had met their mother without telling me. They broke down in tears and told me they couldn't tell me because God would punish them if they did. Angela and my parents must have made them afraid, which is why they kept it a secret. Also, I felt like a bad dad because I never asked my parents' friends who they were hanging out with. Maybe it was someone much more dangerous than Angela, and I would have never known. But I'm ending it now. I've already asked for a protection order against all of them. I have written proof because a few days after our fight, my parents told me everything in an email. They thought the email would help me understand why Angela wanted to stay a mother, but it only proved they were all lying to me. Not only is it funny that Angela gave up her parenting rights, but she also had to see our kids in secret, as if it were illegal, because Sean didn't want her to talk to her old family. The one true love she thought she had is now going to be split. These two people have a kid together, but my parents say Sean no longer wants to be with either of them. He has a job offer and will be moving in a few months. But Angela doesn't want him to go because their son started kindergarten nearby. Because of this, they've been fighting for a long time. 3 months ago, Sean told her he'd had enough and was leaving for the job. I thought this would make me feel bad for Angela. But now I think justice has been done. The protection order has been filed after I talked to my lawyer. Everything was on my mind when I talked to my girls. I told them that for now they would not be going to see their grandparents or mother. They seem okay with it. But we're going to therapy to work through it, because I know it's been hard for them and probably will continue to be. But it's over now. Message 2. Hi everyone. Thanks for taking care of us and being here for us. Thanks to everyone who has sent nice things and prayers to my girls. I feel blessed. Restraining orders have been served on my folks and Angela. They are due in court in a few days. These things don't make me feel good because I've blocked them on every possible site. Also, I told my friends not to get in touch with them if they try. I've also made my house safer and have been working from home for a few days. I told the people in charge at my girls' school about the trouble. At first, I didn't want to send them to school for a few days, but I didn't want Angela and my parents to get in the way of their schooling either. Teachers have been told to keep an eye on them and say that only I can pick them up after school. There's nothing I can do to let them get to us, but I know they'll try. So far, so good, and I hope they will continue to stay away once we get the protection order. Change 3. Hello, this is a short report. The restraining order for the next 5 years was sent to us. There will be bad things happening to all 3 of them if they get too close to me and my girls. I'm still following all the safety measures I set up because the last time I saw them, they looked angry, and I don't want to put anything at risk. My girls and I are going to family counseling sessions on a daily basis, and I think things will get a lot better in the next few months. Already we've made a lot of work. I only want my girls to be happy, that's all. Send us your best wishes all the time. We need them. Thanks for seeing it. Please join and hit the bell to stay up to date on more shocking real-life events happening near you if you haven't already.